It's like we're talking about Facebook campaigns. So this is what we do. So we run ads for about 100 agents across North America. So we're going to show you kind of the methodology that we use when we want to launch a campaign for a client, how we come up with the campaign, some of the factors we consider when doing it, just so that you can see how you can do it yourself. So we'll show you some examples, but we'll kind of go through everything start to finish so that you can do it yourself or get someone on your team to do it for you. It's really up to you how you want to do that. But we're going to show you. And then, so like they mentioned, I was an agent. I'm from Aurora, if you guys know where that is. So it's just north of Toronto. So I sold for a couple of years, started doing all this stuff online. I built my business online. I tried door knocking, cold calling. I just hated it. I got a deal actually on my first door knock ever, and then nothing ever again. So I started out like as good as you can get, batting 100, and then quickly just plummeted to nothing after that. And it was a lease, so it really doesn't even count. So then I just started blogging, Facebook ads and all that, and it started working really well. Then Remax recruited me to start training their agents. So I ended up traveling mostly like Ontario, Atlantic Canada, but all over North America training agents. And every time I did that, people were like, can we just hire you to do it for us? So started a company doing this. Are my slides ready or no? Okay, so we're good. I'll just keep going. I don't need slides, they're overrated anyways. So normally what I would say is you don't have to take pictures of my slides because at the end there's a code that you can just get them emailed to you after if you just text it. So don't worry about taking pictures of the slides, just wait for the number at the end, text Team Summit to it, and it'll email you all the slides automatically so you don't have to take pictures. Because even if you take pictures, it doesn't always turn out right. Getting the actual slides themselves is a lot easier. So what we're going to talk about, so first most important thing is understanding how the funnel works. Because with Facebook ads, when you're running it is, and I know this happens all the time, is every time oh, we're almost there. Perfect. So when you're running Facebook ads, you can see how the funnel works. And what I know a lot of agents do, and you guys can put up your hands, probably a lot won't, you see another agent's ad, you've clicked in to see what happens. You don't have to always put up your hand to say that, because I know you do. I see your names coming across our emails when you're opting in, because you're using your real names too. Like, at least do what I do and create a fake email address so they don't know that you're doing it. But we see it all the time, but then what happens is you try to recreate it and you don't really understand all the pieces that go into it. So I'm just out of curiosity, anyone else is a history nerd like me who knows what a cargo cult is? Am I the only history nerd in the group? Or just a very obscure history nerd reference? So a cargo cult came from South Pacific during World War II. What happened was a lot of people started, like the US, they wanted to get ready for the invasion of Japan. So they started setting up on islands supply routes so that they could supply their armies going forward. But there was a lot of indigenous tribes there, and this is their first time seeing like 20th century technology. So like the tribes would see like them build a runway, and then the general would pick up a radio, make a call on the radio, and then a plane would come in and deliver all their supplies. So these tribes being like, we want to recreate that too. So they'd pick up a rock, talk into the rock, call in for supplies, they'd build a runway out of bamboo and wait for that plane to come in. They didn't understand all the pieces that go into it that actually made it work. It's essentially how a lot of agents kind of market online. They see the pieces and try to recreate it without understanding. Like, I actually had an agent opt into one of my clients' funnels one time, recreate it themselves, and then send me a message to ask why it wasn't working. They just didn't understand all the pieces that actually goes into a good campaign. Where are we with the slides? Closer? Maybe? No? Okay. So I'd be really showing you a really nice funnel diagram of a funnel here, so it'd look really slick. But basically, how we do it, like a regular one, you'll have a lead magnet. This is what attracts someone to opt in, which then goes to a landing page. Then on the landing page, it goes to a thank you page, and then it keeps going after that to the follow-up process. Once you start understanding all the pieces that go into it, like you understand how important the thank you page is on that platform. Then you start understanding how all the retargeting works. And this is a really good diagram to explain this instead of trying to explain it. So we have lead magnet, landing page, thank you page, and then you can start doing retargeting campaigns where it comes back, brings people back to other pages who missed out on it, and basically a whole lot of stuff like that. If the diagrams show up, I'll go back to that in a minute, but it's kind of hard to explain. You'll get this copy of the slides at some point, so don't worry about it. And then, so here's how we start our campaigns online. So first thing we do is customer research. It's the most important part. And the reason I say that is what you might think is most important to the customer might not always be. So we were talking to a client one time, we're like, what causes your clients, and they wanted seller leads only, they're like, what causes them the most stress? What can we do to help alleviate that stress so that they'll become a lead for you? And they're like, oh, they just want to know what their home is worth. Like, that's the big thing for them. What's the home is worth? So we were testing a home evaluation campaign. At the same time, I started doing the research. I started asking people in their area, what causes you stress when you want to sell your home, yada, yada, yada. And every question is like 70% of the answers kept coming back about preparing their home for sale. It wasn't about what their home's worth. It was about preparing their home for sale. So instead of doing a home evaluation campaign, we killed that and switched to a guide on how to prepare your home for sale. And that all of a sudden now was a lot better. The leads that came in were a lot higher quality, because if you're downloading a guide on how to prepare your home for sale, that's a way more likely person to sell their home than someone who just wants to know what their home is worth. Home evaluation campaigns still work, but you're also chasing a lot of people who do things like, I don't know, I was just curious. I have no intention of selling. Market's been crazy. I want to know what it's worth. So we did that, found that out. And now you can do that, not just for sellers, but ask those pain points for everybody. So when you're thinking about what kind of lead magnet can I create, you want to look at it from the perspective of, if the home buying or home selling journey is, A to Z, how can my initial contact with them take them from A to B? So this first one is just, here's how you prepare your home for sale. Then you jump in and you help out from there. But you're just starting at the beginning. Any update on the slides, by the way? They're coming? 1 minute? Cool. So the slides will be up soon. We'll kind of jump through where I've already gone through. Hopefully I didn't skip any slides that I have in my head. So what the most important thing, though, once the research is done, is how many people here know what the Facebook pixel is? Anyone? A couple? How many people here, put your hand up if you have the pixel on your site? A couple, a few hands come up. So the Facebook pixel, even if you're not going to use it now, job one, get it on your site. So if you don't know how, you can go in, copy, paste the code, send it to your website guy. They'll know how to put it on your site. If they don't, you need a new website guy. It's really easy to do. It just goes between the header tags. It's a simple copy paste. So if they don't know how to do it, you need a new website guy. And what's the beauty of this is Facebook will start learning about your customers. So you can say anyone who comes to this page, that's a lead. Now they're going to start analyzing everyone who goes to that page and start figuring out who they are. So when you run an ad, you can be like, I want more people like them. And then they start helping your ads be optimized to get in front of the right people even more. So it's not just a simple, hey, I'm going to choose my targeting. A lot of my ads now, after they've been running for a while, I actually expand my targeting and let Facebook do it. Because Facebook, to them, they know I'm going to keep advertising if they can get me more leads. So it's in their best interest to find me more people. So I let, after a while, Facebook do a bit of that heavy lifting for me. It takes about 50 leads for Facebook to really understand who your leads are going to be. So at the beginning, you're just letting it learn who your audience is. And the other cool things you can do with the pixel, you can start being like, okay, I want to retarget anyone who's been to my website. So it's like, someone read one of your articles, now you can retarget them an ad. They looked at a listing on your property or on your website, you can retarget them with an ad for that listing or listings in a similar price range. You can start customizing your ads based on the activities they're taking on your site. There's actually a really cool tool you guys should write down, and I don't have it up there. It's called Pixel Me. So what Pixel Me does, and don't use this in paid advertising, Facebook doesn't like it in paid ads, but for your organic shares, if you go to Pixel Me, put a link through there, even if you're, say, sharing an article from the Toronto Star, it'll essentially run them through a quick link beforehand that adds them to your pixel data. So anyone who reads any article you share, their data gets added to your pixel as well. So now you can start retargeting people who just read an interesting article that you shared that's not even yours. But again, be careful if you do that with a paid ad, because Facebook doesn't like when you do those little redirects. I've seen people who get their ad accounts banned. Yep. Yeah, sure. So a Facebook pixel, it's basically just a little piece of code that goes on your website, and it just tracks people who come to your website. So for instance, like if you've ever gone shopping on Amazon, you look at a t-shirt, you come to Facebook, and there's an ad for that t-shirt, that's what the Facebook pixel is doing. So it's not just like a happy coincidence that you happen to see the same one, that's the pixel doing it. So even if you're not gonna run ads for a little while, make it a priority just to get the pixel on your site so it has time to build up that data. Because say you're like, okay, it's 3 months. Oh, there we go. So say it's 3 months from now that you're going to get it. Now you can actually run. All right, now let's see if the clicker works. Hey, oh, we can skip a lot of this, actually. So here's some of the nice diagrams I was talking about, which segued nicely into my cargo cult thing. And go. Okay, so then we go back into here. We show how, funnels, like I was mentioning, can get a little bit complicated. All right. No, oh. One more. So that's what I was talking about. Like, once you understand everything, that's not confusing anymore. But it's once you understand all the pieces and can put them in, that's something like that's pretty easy to do. But, oh, we lost it again. Okay, so that one I briefly showed you, it can actually be a lot easier than you think. Because all those pieces, once you understand them, are really easy to put into a campaign. So, okay, we'll just pretend that didn't happen. So now, let me go through my head where the next phase was. What was I talking about right before I went back into the slides again? Right, the pixels. So you got the pixels. Oh, we can go again. All right, let's go. So set up the pixel, pixel me. Hey, so that's pixel me. If you see that logo, you're on the right site. So yeah, so when you're running an ad, you want to make sure you're picking the right audience. So when you're thinking about it, because like the biggest mistakes I've seen in like Facebook ads is someone runs an ad like, if you need help buying or selling, call me. That's a terrible ad on Facebook. Like if that's the ad you're running, like sure, it can be good for awareness and branding, but that's essentially like, just you might as well go back to running an ad in the newspaper. Whereas this, an online campaign, it's one campaign is one audience. So if you want to target people who are getting divorced, that's what your campaign's around. Because your campaign can be like, issues to know about selling your home during a divorce. That's the type of campaign you can run. Top 7 reasons you should invest in Toronto condos. Top 7 reasons you should invest in Aurelia property instead of Toronto condos. Like, start doing things like that, or make it really specific. You can be like, here's something for ballet parents to sell your home. Like you can go super ridiculous specific. Like, make it for teachers, firefighters, police officers, first-time buyers, first-time sellers, all these different things, but each one of those ideas should be for one. So you'd only have one campaign per single audience. So like I mentioned, that's where you do the customer research that I was talking about before to figure out what the biggest pain points are of your audience. So the first stage, this is just where we're going to build up that retargeting audience we talked about, and that's by engaging them. Because aside from just the Facebook pixel, anyone who engages with your Facebook page, you can also retarget with an ad. If they watch your videos, you can retarget them with an ad. So really at the phase 1 of a good online campaign, you're just building up that group. So if you guys have been doing a ton of work getting engagement on your Facebook page before and have never actually run ads or run ads successfully, don't worry, it's not all wasted. You've been building up this audience we can now leverage when we get to the second stage, which we'll talk about in a minute. So one of the ways to do is blogging. It works really well. So like you could do a post, top 7 things to consider to buying a home with a pool. That's a blog post you could do that could be pretty popular, but then retarget everyone who read that blog post with an ad for homes with pools in them. So you can start looking at it that way. So how can we retarget some of the content we're creating? And blogging's a really good way to do that. Same with video. So video or blogging, it really, like some people ask me what's better, video or written. It really just comes down to what are you more likely to create. Personally, I'm more of a writer than I do video. They both work really well. I mean, I think video to a degree can be better. But even if you're doing video, there's a website called rev.com, rev.com. Upload your video. They'll create a written transcription of your video for you. Hey, now you got a blog post too. It costs $1 per minute of video. So it's definitely worth it. So rev.com, use that, and you can kind of double-edge sword it. And it'll also create captions for Facebook, because 70% of videos on Facebook are watched without sound. So if people aren't going to listen to what you're saying, at least give them the opportunity to read it. Another great way to get engagement is contests. When I was selling in Aurora, I did one for a couple of years called Light Up Aurora. It was just a Christmas light competition. It started getting a lot of traction. I started getting sponsors. Started getting a lot of people applying. Like the first year I ran it, every single house that was entered was me knocking on the door as I drove through town being like, I like the lights in your house. Do you want to be in my competition? The next year, people actually asked to be in it, which was great. And then the third year when I stopped selling, they asked me if I was still going to run it because they wanted to be in it. So it's things like that get a lot of engagement. The reason I did then, December, slow month for real estate, I wanted to keep them engaged and on my pixel. So I was like, what can I do in December that's going to keep them around? So you can do this all times a year, depending on what you want. And all this is going to building that retargeting list, because the retargeting list is going to help you a lot. And so here's some of the different ways you can do it. So the first one there, the customer file, you can upload your entire database to Facebook. Say, okay, now go find them all on Facebook, and we can send them an ad. So if you think about the average email list gets about a 20% open rate, well, you can probably find about 60% of them on Facebook this way. So now you can run an ad to them to get it that way too. So, and you can also then say, I actually want to exclude my database from the ads. You could do it both ways. Or you could say, okay, just upload my sellers, just upload my buyers, just upload investors. You can segment it depending on the size of your database and how good it is. You can also do website traffic. The website traffic one, there's a lot of variations. At the beginning, just start tracking traffic. Then after that, you can start getting into specific pages, if they go to this page but not that page. If you get a lot of traffic, you can do it based on the top 25% of people who spent the most time on your website. And that becomes, again, a much higher quality lead. If you have an app, there's an app option for app activity. If you don't worry about that too much. Same with offline activity. That's a new one. Haven't tested a lot, so I don't want to talk too much about that. And then the last one is one that you can all leverage, is engagement with your page. And that will actually go back in time to like for the past year for who's engaged with your page. Whereas if you put the pixel on your website right now, it starts counting right now. But the engagement on your page, because Facebook can track that since it's their platform, they can go back in time and build that list up. So all the engagement you've had in the past can still be leveraged in the future. And then one of my favorite things about Facebook are the lookalike audiences. So you can upload your database to Facebook and be like, go find me more people like them. Actually, one of the most impressive uses of this in the past little while is Donald Trump. Whether you agree with him or not, what he did on Facebook was unbelievably impressive. He would run like a list of all his supporters and say, Facebook, go find me more people like them. Here's everyone that's not going to vote for me, but maybe doesn't like Hillary. Let me go find more people like them and run ads to tell them not to vote. And he started doing things like that just at a massive, ridiculous scale. Because Facebook knows more about you than you ever actually want to know. Like, they'll know when you're pregnant. Google knows, actually, it's kind of cool. Google will know you're pregnant if you start Google searching how big is a blueberry, how big is an apple. Because the only people searching the size of fruits are women who are pregnant or their spouses who are told that the baby is the size of an apple. So based on little things like that, or like Target actually has like a pregnancy predictor score. Based on what you're buying, they know if you're pregnant, what you're going to need 2 weeks from now, a month from now, and they'll even know if what you're buying is actually for a baby shower instead of your own kid. Like, this data that's out there that people know is ridiculous, and you probably don't want to know about it if you're someone who's concerned about privacy. I ran my profile through one of these predictors. They told me my political leanings exactly, like broken down by percentage. They said I was likely married, likely straight, and then they said, and here's why. So they were able to tell, like, okay, you like this, so you're likely this. And they kind of broke it down. So apparently the straightest thing you can like on Facebook is the Wu-Tang Clan. And then, but then they're like, but you also like Modern Family, so it kind of brings you down off that higher one. So it's like an interesting thing to see how they can analyze that data on Facebook. So once you get this engagement going, you're building up those retargeting lists, you're building up the lookalike lists, you're gonna get into the second stage. So the first is developing that lead magnet off that research. So here's the example of one, the ultimate guide to preparing your home for sale. That was very specific to people in their town who were thinking of selling their home. Then we built the landing page that was very specific for that campaign. So this landing page converts pretty well. It's pretty good quality leads. And an important thing to consider when you're building a landing page, it has to be mobile friendly. So if you think about it, you have your phone out, if it doesn't look good on this screen, 90% of people are just gonna leave right away. Because 90% or more of your traffic's coming on your phone. And then you can start getting more specific, like when it comes up, the button should be in that bottom little bit right here, so that their thumb can easily get it. Like on a big screen, if you have to reach across with your thumb to hit a button to opt in and start typing, that's just less people now who are gonna opt in. So when you're designing it, design for mobile first. Like there's a kind of a anecdote running around that statistically speaking, more people opt in on a desktop than they do on mobile. That is technically true from the stats, but that's because most websites just suck at mobile, so more people opt in. If a site is optimized for mobile, it's gonna opt in at the same rate or better, but it's also like 90% of the traffic, so you need a good mobile site. Again, so if your website's not mobile friendly, get rid of it. An important thing about landing pages as well is if there's like a home, about, contact, all that stuff, that get rid of for your landing pages, because that's opportunities for people not to become a lead. On this page, the only thing they should do is become a lead for you or leave. Like, you have to link to a privacy policy, you gotta have that stuff at the bottom legally, but outside of that stuff, get rid of it, because you don't want them to be able to do anything else but become a lead. And again, similar to like one campaign per audience, you want one goal per page, and it should match the ad. So where it says the ultimate guide to preparing your home for sale, that's what it should say in the ad as well. If you're saying what's your home worth, the landing page should say what's your home worth, not find out or get a free home evaluation. Keep it consistent, keep the colors consistent, keep the branding consistent. You want them to think, okay, when I go there and I go to the next page, I'm in the same spot, there was no accident. And then an important thing where a lot of people screw up is they just do a generic thank you page, it doesn't have anything on it. Like, if we're running an ad for someone who's looking to buy homes, how many people who buy a home also have a home to sell? So on the thank you page, we'll see, hey, get your free home evaluation. Like, do you need to sell your current home to get the next one? Well, get a free home evaluation, we'll tell you what it's worth. Or maybe we'll say, do you need to sell your current one? Download the free guide. For our guide on how to prepare your home for sale, we'll also offer them a free home evaluation after too. Because if someone opts in again, that's gonna be an even stronger lead. Like, you're letting them sort themselves out by how hot of a lead it is by offering them something extra on the thank you page. So don't neglect it when you're running ads. And then when you're thinking about who else is targeting your audience, this is actually a really good one because a lot of people struggle with targeting, is think about, not just from real estate, because that's people get really into the real estate thing, but who's my audience and who's going after them. So if I'm targeting homeowners, think about who else with big budgets goes after homeowners. Home Depot. Home Depot doesn't care about marketing to renters because they don't spend as much on their home. So instead of you trying to find all this work to find homeowners, just target Home Depot. Let them spend their money to find homeowners. If I'm trying to find people with pets, I'm not going to target someone with an interest in dogs because someone just might have liked a funny dog video but never wants a dog. I'm going to target PetSmart, because PetSmart, if someone likes that, they're probably a pet owner. So think about who else is going after your audience that's not real estate related that you can piggyback off their ad spend, and that'll drive your cost down. Like Facebook, that like broad interest targeting is pretty ineffective. So for instance, like if you target real estate as an interest, do you know who likes real estate? You guys and mortgage brokers. That's not really your ideal audience. Like, I will more often use real estate as an exclusion on my ads so that you guys don't see my clients' ads. So that same thing, if you don't want agents to see your ads, think about what are agents into that nobody else is. Here in Ontario, the Real Estate Council of Ontario, if you're not an agent, you don't care about that at all or even know what it is. So if someone has an interest in RECO, you exclude them from your ads, and double bonus, RECO doesn't see it anymore. And then, I didn't say that. But then things like Inman News, Dotloop, Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini, like the really big people in the industry that only real estate agents would like, exclude that from your ad, now they can't see it. Or if you want agents to see your ad, say you're recruiting, use those as your targeting options. Because if you target by job title, like go to 5 agents page, they're all gonna list a different title. If you're gonna be like, I want Remax as the employer, do you know what people do instead of listing Remax as their employer? They list their own business page. So now you can't go and pick every single person's business page. It's gonna take you forever and half them won't even be available for targeting. And just to add a bit of fun to it, Facebook recently removed job titles as a targeting option. So it's not even there. And I think it's starting to come back now because they had to figure out some issues with it, but like they got rid of it. Whereas interests like Inman News, great way to target agents. And long form on ads works. The reason a lot of people say you gotta keep ads short because attention spans are short on everyone, no one's gonna read or watch long content, that's not true. They just don't wanna watch crappy content. If your content is good, people will read it, people will watch it. Like Seinfeld, he was told when he was doing Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee that nobody would watch a 20-minute video online, so no one offered to buy it. So he put it online himself, and now he's had like 100 million people watching his videos. They're long, but they're valuable content, so people will watch it. So same with like this ad. On the left is one that kind of this old school real estate coach told me I should run for a client. On the right is the one that I wanted to run. It was like a 10-to-1 result difference in the longer ad there than the shorter one. And because we made it interesting for the person reading it. So first we call them out. So you can see, I'll just kind of read there to you a sec. Hi, Burlington. So this is an ad we ran in Burlington. Hi, Burlington. Right away, you live in Burlington, it kind of stops you a bit. And then, are you planning on moving in 2017? The reason I do that, I like to open with a question that gets a yes from the ideal person who wants to read my ad. Because if they say yes and then keep reading, that's the type of person I want to become a lead. If they're like, no, this isn't relevant to me, good, I don't want them to keep reading the ad anyways. And then you kind of get into a bit about it, and that will change ad to ad what you write after that. But as long as you have good information, feel free to make it a longer ad. If you're just filling it with fluff, then just delete all the fluff. But if it's valuable information that helps your ideal prospect convert, like I've seen some of the best internet marketers in the world who've made 1,000-word ads and make millions off it. Like you can do long-form content if the content's good. On the thank you page, make sure you have the pixel, and then go on Facebook and you can say anyone who comes to that page is a lead. Now, everyone who comes to that page, they know is a lead. They're going to help you find more people like them. Then, everyone who comes to this page, so your landing page, but then doesn't go to the thank you page, you can run another ad because of the pixel saying, if they came to this page but didn't opt in, send them an ad to bring them back. Because what happens a lot, people on their phone, their boss calls. Now they're busy and they didn't opt in. Or, maybe they're in the bathroom and they finished, so they didn't opt in. Or something like that. Like there's a reason they have that they couldn't finish opting in, so let's bring them back. There's a reason when you go shopping on Amazon, you see an ad to come back for that same product. That's the cheapest source of leads you can get is people who have already expressed interest. Or retarget them with an ad for another offer. So maybe if they don't opt into that, maybe they want a free home evaluation. So run an ad to them for a free home evaluation because I know they're probably a seller, but maybe that wasn't the right offer for them, so we're going to offer them another seller offer. But if you know they went to that page, they're a step ahead of anyone else right now. And make sure you're being a little bit different. So here's an ad we ran. So how many people here just run like, hey, we just sold a property in 3 days for 100% of asking? Like, I see those all the time in real estate. So we took a client here, and we said, let's do a little bit differently. We wrote a 1,000-word blog post as a case study. So there's a condo project in downtown called the Berksey. They set a new record of price per square foot of $1,127. I think it's probably been beat now, but at the time, that was the new record. So we said, see how Sean Mahoney set a new price record with that. Read the blog post to see how he did it. Then that links to a blog post where they wrote 1,000 words detailing what they did as agents to get that home sold. It wasn't just, hey, look, we're awesome, we sold it in 3 days. It detailed every single step they took. Like, we called agents who had recently sold. We did this, we did that, we did this. And now they got a $2 million listing just off that, and we spent $50 on the ad. They also got people commenting on it saying, hey, you're ruining Toronto because no one can afford it anymore. They didn't delete the comments, though. They responded to them, and they kept it up, and it made it more interesting because then people who wanted to sell, they actually liked to see that they responded to those. So it worked really well, and it's a little bit different. So do case studies instead of just saying, hey, we sold it, we're awesome. Emojis work really well in ads. I generally don't put them in luxury ads, but every other one, we use emojis quite a bit. And believe it or not, the most popular emoji in Canada is the poop. So congratulations. Statistically speaking, the emoji you guys send the most is the poop one. So that's across all of Canada. And we've actually used the poop emoji in ads. We had a client who was selling a home that the garage blew up in a meth explosion. So we're like, how can we sell? Like, this home is crappy. So we just said, calling all contractors, we have a 8 poop emojis home for you. Are you up for the challenge? And we linked to the article about the meth lab explosion. People were commenting on the ad, tagging their agent, being like, hey, can we go see this tonight and bring an offer with you? Because we were upfront about it, we made it a little bit funny. The other half of the engagement were people who just thought it was funny. But it's people who are engaging and building our retargeting list. It's important, though, if you're going to use emoji, to actually know what they mean. I mean, don't put the eggplant in if you don't know what it means. Everyone who just laughed, you're filthy. Because like my mom asked me if I wanted eggplant for dinner, and how she did it was really inappropriate. So know what the emojis mean before you put them in. Like fire is not just fire. It's kind of excitement, something's hot, it's new. Just generally speaking, avoid the eggplant and the peach. You don't really want to put those in your ads too much, unless you have a very specific audience. And then the next step we're going to go is targeting high-value pages on your website. So now you've got a bunch of people come to your site. They've done a lot more. They spent time on your site. If somebody reads the About page on your site, that's going to be a pretty hot lead, because they're coming now. They want to learn more about you. So for instance, if someone has enough traffic on their website, anyone who reads the About page to learn about them, we target them with a direct ad to book a call. It's not just, hey, download this. It's book a call with us for a free 15-minute consult or something like that. Because if they're on the About page, it's a lot further down the process someone is. And they've started going through everything that you have. So think about what those high value, like the About page, contact page, things like that. Those are high value pages from someone's perspective of how far down the line they are. So think about which pages on your site are those high value ones you can redirect to. Budgeting for Facebook, for about every 100,000 people in your audience, you should budget about $10 a day. It's a rough rule of thumb. There's exceptions to that. You can change things like that. It's just a good place to start, because everyone's always asking me, what should I spend on Facebook ads? That's just the rule of thumb we usually follow. You can't go lower than $5 a day. So if you're at 40,000 people, do the $5 a day. And there's no reason if you have 200,000, you can't still do $5 a day. That's just a good rule of thumb to follow. And make sure you're testing everything. So we ran the guide ad that was mentioned before. On the left was a red button, and then on the right was the orange button. Saw a 51% increase in conversions by switching it to orange. 50% more people opted in because we changed the color. So little things can have a big impact on your campaigns. So a good kind of thing here is, again, think about who's doing this more than you and who we can copy. The best people online at getting people to opt in and spend money is Amazon. So go copy the color of the button that Amazon uses. Take that color, put it on your button, and start doing things like that, and look what other people are doing. You don't have to spend a ton of money to learn when other people have already done that. Just copy those little pieces and add them to your funnel. And then you make sure you're reviewing and adjusting. So I'll talk a little bit more about Relevance Score on the next one, but as you're running campaigns, if you understand what the numbers mean, you can know, maybe I should kill this campaign, maybe it just needs a few tweaks, maybe I should just let it run forever. Like, we've had campaigns that we've let run 6-7 months long because they keep working. We've had others we've killed after 500 people saw it. We can tell based on what the stats are showing what it is. And then ultimately at the end of the day, it's, are you getting an ROI? But before you start getting enough leads to get deals, you want to know, are the preliminary results good enough for what we're trying to do? So the best place to start is to understand the relevance score. How many people know what that is? How many people look at it and be like, I don't know what that is? Or how many people didn't know it existed? So the relevance score, it's a score out of 10. And what Facebook cares about more than anything is how people are finding their time on Facebook. Because they know if they're not finding relevant content to them, they're not going to stay on Facebook. Facebook loses their value. So to them, even the ads have to be relevant to the audience. So Facebook will look at things like, how are they engaging with your ads? If they clicked on your ad, did they spend time on your website, or did they leave right away? If someone clicks, goes to your website, and leaves immediately, that's a bad sign for your ad, because now it's not relevant to the audience. So Facebook's analyzing all these different things, and they don't tell you what everything is, but between 1 and 10, obviously 10 is what you want. If you have a listing ad, it should always be a 10. If it's anything below a 10, you don't have a great listing ad. Listings are the easiest way to get a 10. In terms of like regular lead gen campaigns that are not a listing, 8 and 9, you should be pretty happy with. Like if you consistently get a 10 on just like a regular lead gen campaign, you can come up on stage with me. A 9, they're pretty good. They work well, and you should keep that one going. An 8, keep it going, but just watch it because it might drop a bit. 6 and a 7 for a relevance score, minor tweaks. That's all you have to do. 5 and under, stop it and run a new ad. If you're at 5, you might be able to make some like slightly bigger tweaks, but the amount of tweaks it might take, you might as well start over again anyway. So I'd say generally relevance score of 5 and under, stop, with the odd exception of if you're getting a lot of leads. The odd time we've run a campaign that had a relevance score of like 4 but kept getting leads, so we let it run. So that's where, again, understanding what's coming in. But if you have a relevance score of 4 and no leads, you just want to get rid of that campaign and start over. How much time do I have? I don't see a clock. Cool, I got a few minutes still. Okay, so follow-up email. So for instance, what we do with the guide that we send out, we don't just redirect them to the guide because that rewards people for fake information. So we make sure that if they want to get a copy of the guide, it gets emailed to them because then it forces the right email address or they don't get it. And then have it go out immediately. The only exception to that is if your thank you page has a video on it. So if you put like a 4-minute video on the thank you page, have the email go out with the lead magnet in 5 minutes. Because if you put it out right away, then they're just going to leave the thank you page and go look at the email they just got. So have it delayed until after they have enough time to watch the video. And then when you send it to them, remind them that why you're sending it to them because they asked for it. Because what happens, a lot of people, they'll opt in, then they get busy, they forget, they check their email the next day. Half the time you'll find this, the odd time when you're talking to leads, they forgot they even asked for it. So remind them what that offer was. And then tell them what's coming next. Like if you're going to be calling them within, 5 minutes, an hour, 48 hours, whatever the number is, tell them you're going to call so they can expect it. And then take a little bit of time to build a rapport, so explain why you created it, what you're there for them with. Don't just brag about, hey, we're number 1. Build rapport with them, and then always include your contact information on any email you send out. And don't do it as an image. This drives me crazy. People put like an image and their phone numbers embedded in the image. You don't want that because on a phone, you want them to be able to click the text because if they click your phone number, it'll pull up, do you want to call this number? If you do it in the image, they have to like try and remember your phone number from the image, jump over to the call app and do it that way. It's kind of annoying. So put your email, put your phone number as text underneath any images, or don't do images at all because sometimes that can screw up the mobile view. Like the only image I'll ever put is just a little thing in my logo. Like all my newsletters that go out, my email newsletters, it's just straight text. And then just at the bottom, there's like the little image of my logo, and that's it. And then obviously you want to reach out. I can't tell you how many clients we've had that, we'll send them 50 leads, and then there's like, oh, nothing came of it. I'm like, did you call them? No. Like, I realize people in this room is probably different. A lot of you, if you're building teams, you actually do reach out to leads. But like, you'd be surprised. I've had clients, they do 200 deals a year. They don't reach out to the leads. So make sure you're actually calling them. And if they don't pick up the phone, don't leave a voicemail. Text them. You're getting the cell phone number most of the time. Texting has like a 90-95% open rate. So send them a text message, be like, hey, this is Andrew with, ABC Realty. I just want to let you know it's a real person behind the website. Let me know that you got your copy of the guide. If they respond that they got it, because sometimes they go to spam, then you start your conversation scripting of getting them and qualifying them and all that. But don't be afraid to text someone. And if you actually, how many people here have an iPhone? Quite a few. So if you type in a phone number and then go to where it says text, it'll actually switch and tell you if it's an iMessage. Now you know if they have an iPhone too. If they have an iPhone too, don't be afraid to kind of do what BombDom does and text them a video instead of just text. Now they can see your face, see you saying their name. And that can work well too. You just kind of I know it's awkward for some people to send video over text, but get over it. And what's great when you're getting the real email address is you can learn a ton about someone from their email address. We do this all the time. Like I remember when I was an agent, and this only happened once, but I'm proud of it. We converted someone who opted in as Minnie Mouse because we had the right email address. Because within 5 minutes, we knew her name was Sarah. She was a nurse. She went to Laurentian. We knew she was actually at work when she opted in. We know she had a boyfriend named John. She drove a 97 Toyota Camry. Like we knew a ton about her because of her email address. So for start, put an email address into the Facebook search bar, it pulls up their profile. Most people forget to change their settings to not allow that. You can do the same thing with a cell phone number. Put the cell phone number into search, pulls up their profile. You can get plugins in your email if you're using Gmail that will pull up their social as soon as they email you. Like if you email me, it right away pulls up your LinkedIn profile on the right side of my inbox. So now I can see job title. I can see basically all this stuff about you. It pulls up your Twitter. Twitter's not as relevant anymore because not people are using it, but back in Twitter's heyday, it was amazing because you could learn a ton about someone. So really, when you're running these campaigns online, your goal is just to provide as much value as possible for the people coming to it. So for me, like the guide on how to prepare your home for sale was great. Guides on divorcing, guides on estates, like very specific guides that are useful for a very specific person. That value you can provide them helps a lot. So think about how I can provide the most value to the people who want to opt in, because you have to give them something good enough that they are okay giving you their name, email, and phone number. So if you do want the slides, text Team Summit. I think it has to be all in caps, but I could be wrong. But text Team Summit to that number you see on the screen. It doesn't sign you up for my newsletter or anything, don't worry. You just automatically get an email with the slides, and you're good to go there. So I'll leave that up for a second. How much time do I have? 5 minutes? So actually, I finished a little bit early. It's probably because I slid through the beginning of my next slide. So if you guys have questions, I'm happy to stick up for a few minutes. Yeah?
So I got 3 Facebook pages, a public profile, a business profile, and a personal profile.
Yeah.
Which one do you spend your money on?
So you can't spend ad money on your personal. It has to be through a business page. So you need a business page to be able to run ads.
What about business versus your public profile?
Like your personal profile, like with your name?
Public profile. There's some talk about that being.
I don't know what you mean by public profile. There's literally your personal profile and your business page. Like some people call business pages, community pages, different things like that. They're all just a business page. You need one of those to run an ad, and your personal is your personal. Like on your personal profile on Facebook, technically, if you do anything that could have commercial gain for you, Facebook can ban your account. So now most agents are doing things for commercial gain pretty obviously on their property and nothing happens. But if someone complains, you can have your account banned by Facebook and you can't get it back sometimes. So if you're doing things for commercial gain on your personal profile, just be wary that that could happen. Yep. Yeah, so your targeting options are, obviously you can drop a pin on the map, and you can go down to a 1 mile or 1 kilometer. You can also put the first 3 digits of a postal code. And if you say you want to do, like, because you have to do the circle, which sometimes the circles goes outside of areas you want, but what you can do is drop another circle on the edge of it that overlaps, and then exclude that area. So you can take that 1 mile and actually narrow it down even further. But yeah, like generally like 1 mile is the start. Like outside of the city, that's great. But like, yeah, if you're downtown Toronto, 1 mile is a lot of people. So I would either go by the first 2 digits of the postal code or add the exclusion audience. So like anyone who's here works, then have the overlapping no one in here. It's a bit of like, you're essentially like dropping pins in plane. It gets a little finicky. But that's really like the main way to do it. And then like really narrow it by other things. Like if you know it's gonna be a family that's buying it, small area, target parents. Yeah, people say that, but I've tested it a ton of times, and long form works if it's good information. Yeah. Oh no, so that's on the image. So if you share an image and there's a lot of text on the image, they'll penalize you. So I actually try to put as little text in the image, and because like your logo will count as text as well. So yeah, so in the image, try to avoid all text. Same with video. Try to avoid as much text as possible. Yep. Pardon? Yeah, everything we've talked about we can do for you. But like if you opt into that, just send it and there's an email and you can, I'm not gonna talk about kind of price and all that up here, but I mean, the email that comes, you can just reply to it and we'll help you out or find me later. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the question is a lead ad form versus a landing page. So a lead ad form essentially eliminates the need for a landing page because what it does is it pops up a form on Facebook pre-filled in with their information. Those work really well for volume of leads. Generally what I find is the quality is lower. So it, like I compare it to like a forced registration on your website. You can get a lot of leads that way, but they're not always the highest quality. I prefer landing pages for non-listing campaigns. For like the home seller guide, I prefer the landing page because the lead coming through is generally of higher quality. But lead ads still work. So if you're just looking at volume, like I have a lot of agents to feed leads to under me, lead ads can work really well. If you're a bit more focused on quality of lead, landing pages can help that out a lot. Do I have time still or one more maybe? All right, one more question and then, was there one? We're good? All right, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day.